Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reading Am I an Asshole? Our first post. Am I an asshole for telling my brother he got exactly what he deserved when he pushed his girlfriend away for being a gold digger? My brother is a very hardworking man. At 27, he is now very wealthy and doing well for himself. He's been with this girl for 6 months, and throughout the time we gotten close because we both like hair, makeup, and shopping. I never knew there was anything wrong with the relationship, except when she texted me last week saying she'd love to hang out, but thinks it will be inappropriate because her and my brother broke up. I asked her why, and she said she was sick and tired of auditioning to prove she was with him for the right reasons. She went on to say that my brother is paranoid, she's after his money, so he would test her like 1. Leaving out his bank statements on their bed and getting upset when she picked it up, 2. Going out to eat at high-end restaurants he requested and leaving his wallet at home on purpose to make her pay the bill and prove she's not going out with him for money, 3. Never buying her gifts and questioning her when she asked why doesn't he. I was shocked, so I had to hear from my brother's perspective. We spoke, and he told me everything she said was true, and there's nothing wrong with making sure his girlfriend is with him for the right reasons. He said he left his bank statement on the bed and was peeking through the door to see if she'd be curious, and when he saw her pick up the papers, he knew it in his gut she was using him for his money. So he set up the restaurant idea to see if she'd get upset at paying a $500 bill, which she was. I asked him if he thinks her being an elementary school teacher could have contributed to being upset at a $500 bill at a restaurant he wanted to go to, and he said no. He said the straw that broke was when she asked him why he hadn't bought her a single gift since they started dating, when she bought him a gaming console and new rims for his car, and he knew she was discreetly asking him to buy her an expensive gift. He confronted her and said he thinks she's with him for his money, so she said let me do us both a favor and dumped him and blocked him. He's upset about the gold digging bee, and when I laughed he called me an asshole. He said I'd never understand what it's like being a rich man and being used, and I get that concern, but I told him if he thinks any women would be okay with his test and auditions, he's delusional as hell. If he doesn't want to be used for money, he should start dating people as wealthy as him, or leave lower income people alone if he's not going to be genuine in their relationships unless they pass his test. Yeah, OP, you're not the asshole, your brother is way overreacting. I would understand why haven't you bought me a gift if we've been dating. It's not about the money, it's about showing you care. Time for our next post. Am I the asshole for telling my dad's wife I owe her nothing? I see her as needy, clingy, overly emotional, and annoying. She sees me as cold, mean, and selfish. She married my dad when I was 9 and forced herself into things I didn't want her in, and honestly, she didn't belong in given the circumstances. And by that, I mean I'd known her for 3 months because she and my dad had a long-distance relationship, and we hadn't spent that much time together prior. The things she tried to force herself into were the traditions I had with my mom. She pushed her way to be there for every single one of them. My friendships, she told me who I should and shouldn't be friends with and really pushed friendships on me when she hardly knew me. Then again, she heard more about me from my dad than I ever heard about her. She pushed herself into my grief. She always claimed I needed to talk and open up to her. Not just anyone, but to her. She would demand it, follow me around trying to get it. And then she invited herself along to my therapy, which then invalidated my therapy for me because I refused to participate with someone new there. She was very much into the idea that a relationship came before other relationships, and so she would make me spend time with her over my friends because I was resistant to her. My dad was pretty quiet during it all, and honestly, I didn't blame him enough back in the day, and now he knows how I feel about his part in it all. She would hug me without consent and squeeze me so I couldn't push her off. She would try to kiss me and get annoyed if I blocked her, and would hold my hand when I didn't like it. So the other night, she told me she was tired of having me keep her out of my life, that she loved me and my dad and was a good stepmom and wife, and she deserved to be acknowledged, loved, and appreciated for it. I didn't answer her, which made her more angry, and she snapped and told me I was being mean to her for no reason. And then I told her that just because my dad loved her didn't mean I did or would, and I did not owe her my love or anything. I told her straight up I owed her nothing. I wanted to go deeper, but my dad stepped in and told me to apologize. This is when, for the second time, I told him he wasn't innocent in all of this either, and I let him know exactly where he fucked up. We're not talking now. I wanted to say so much more. If my dad hadn't stepped in, more home truths would have come from me. I'm a 17 female turning 18 in less than 2 weeks. She sees everything different, and so does my dad. Am I the asshole? No, you're not. Both of them are assholes. For some reason, he has no problem stepping in when she's the one getting insulted or being hurt. So that just shows how much he prioritizes her over you. Time for our next post. Am I the asshole for taking attention away from the bride at the wedding and making it about me? I, 28 female and currently 6 months pregnant and engaged to a wonderful man. Due to the craziness, only a limited people know about our news because we aren't the announcing type. Also, it was a quick engagement because of the pregnancy, but we love each other and we didn't want to showcase all that. I also have an 11-year-old with my ex, who I was married to for 9 years, but he ended up cheating on me with Anna, his friend and co-worker. He had his wedding with Anna this weekend. I was invited because of a complicated custody arrangement that I don't want to get into, and because his mom wanted the mother of her grandchild at the wedding too, since I'm technically still family proxy my son. The thing is, no one from that side knew I was pregnant. I didn't tell my ex because of personal reasons. Also, my fiancé is quite known where I'm from. My ex knows I'm dating someone since I was allowed a +1 for the wedding, but he doesn't know who. This plays into the wedding. I didn't really think much of it as they kept it a small event, and I really didn't want to go but did it for the sake of my son because I can't let him go alone. We all showed up and naturally people gravitated toward my fiancé, asking him what he was doing here and then learning about the pregnancy and the engagement. They were fascinated. It was all quite annoying, and I played the pregnant lady card quite a few times so I could get some peace at an event that I didn't even want to be at. They got married and it was over. We went home, no fuss. The next day, my ex calls me, never does this, lol, and starts ranting to me how I ruined his wedding for his wife and him. First, I bring in a man that's clearly trying to one-up him, and my ex argued that my son likes my fiancé better as my son didn't leave our side for a second during the wedding. And my ex was angered that we played a happy family in front of him when he was the one getting married. Second, my fiancé is not only my date, but also the guy marrying and engaged to, and everyone got to know about it on their day, taking away from the assignment from the wedding. At that point, I said I was sorry for it and agreed that it probably did distract from the wedding. However, I didn't know what I should have done. It's not like I could make everything disappear for the night. I'm not comfortable with announcements on social media and wouldn't have done it for my ex. My ex brought my son into this and asked him to tell me to apologize to his wife for making their whole wedding about me. My son disagrees and said I did nothing wrong, but he's 11. Your son is right. You did do nothing wrong. Your ex is just being a jerk. I wonder if his wife even had a problem with it because I don't see a role she's really playing. It's mostly him complaining about being, jealous. I say just be cordial with him for the sake of your son in custody, but live your own life, OP. It looks like you got it going on. Just play into that. Play into your own life. Time for our next post. Am I the asshole for cutting my sister off financially when I found out I was the only sibling paying for her? I have 3 siblings. I am the eldest. My younger sister is the only one who didn't attend college. She got pregnant and dropped out a few months into college. I live in another state and see them only a couple times a year. I'm not really close to any of them. My sister fell into deep financial shit after the guy took off and the baby B had a ton of medical issues that she couldn't afford. In the end, she moved in with my parents. Me and the other siblings decided to pitch in some money each month to help out the youngest sister. At first, they told me since I earned the most, I should contribute more. I firmly said I would contribute what everyone else is going to. They agreed. It's been a year, and recently my youngest sister reached out to me and said she needed money urgently because B needed a surgery next month. I was a little perplexed. B hadn't been to the doctor for the past 2 months, and the money from those 2 months from all of us should have been more than enough to cover the surgery. I kept pointing this out and asked her what happened to the money. She kept saying the money got used up. At this point, I told her she was gonna have to show me some bills, and she broke down saying I'm the only one giving her money. Then my parents and other siblings asked her to keep that a secret. They decided I'm the one who should pay for everything because I earn more and child-free while the others are not. None of my siblings have kids, but they want to prepare for the future while I don't have to because I'm not gonna have children. So for the past year, I'm the only one who's been helping. What's worse is every time she needed X amount of money, she would call me and tell me she needed 3 times the amount of money and tell me that my siblings already paid their share. I was so pissed off when she confessed. I immediately hung up on her and refused to talk to any of them after that. This literally happened a few days ago. I hadn't sent any money this month or for the surgery. Everyone obviously thinks I'm the asshole. I told my siblings that until they match what I had paid for last year, they aren't going to see another cent from me. My siblings told me they cannot afford that much right now and begged me to continue paying or at very least pay for another year so everyone can figure something else out. You are definitely not the asshole, P. Your sisters aren't required to contribute, but they are the assholes for lying to you. Time for our next post. Am I the asshole for only taking care of my wife and ignoring our roommate? My wife and I live in a house with a mother-in-law apartment over the garage. We got gifted the house from her uncle and we both use it for our house, plus work and side projects. So when we were going to rent out the mother-in-law apartment, it made sense to rent to an artist. Our roommate is a very intense woman all the time. She's almost a caricature of man-hating feminists. I hate using that term as an insult because I believe in equality, but it's the most concise way to explain this woman. This woman hates the entire world, but especially me. She has tried to explain to my wife that I'm evil because of an entire laundry list of assumptions about me. I've heard her go on rants when she's outside about men and everyone she views as an enemy, so I'm just a more available target. I don't like her. She stresses me out every time I have to talk to her, and I wish she would leave, but evicting her isn't an option for multiple practical and legal reasons. My wife and I both have history of trauma, but 2020 has been harder on her. She's often afraid to go in public, so I've been doing most of the errands and taking care of her a lot more. The roommate caught on to this and decided I owe her the same care because she has taken to cornering me all around the small yard to demand why I refuse to give aid to a high-risk member of my household, and that I have to help her because I'm clearly able and owe her. She's made multiple videos accusing me of discriminating against her for being a single woman artist and wanting her to ration food and starve by forcing her into the world when it's too dangerous. I don't care about her Twitter followers, but I'm concerned that I might need to do something to help. It does look like she's losing weight and has been out a lot less. But I can't really swallow helping someone for free that is constantly mean to me and shoving phone cameras in my face to try to film a staged argument to try and get some kind of internet fame. No, she clearly doesn't respect you and she's being a jerk and you don't owe her anything. Time for our next post, but real quick, if you haven't yet, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe for more content ahead. Am I an asshole for not wanting to take my stepdaughter with me and my son on a trip? My son and I had a rough few years. My wife passed and it was very hard on him. Before her passing, we had a yearly thing where we go to a local amusement park. It was sort of a father-son thing, and my wife often didn't come along. We did plenty of other activities together as a family, but that was our special little thing. With her passing and all, we didn't go the last 2 years, but during that time, I met a woman with a stepdaughter. For reference, my son is 10 and the daughter is 8. At first, a new relationship was especially hard on my son. I always assured him that his mother would never be replaced, but to just think of it as an extended family. I wanted to include my son as much as possible, and I had the great idea of continuing our annual trips to the amusement park together to bring back some normalcy. Fortunately, it opened back up in limited capacity and I was able to get tickets. When my stepdaughter heard we were going to a park, she begged to come along, but I told her it was a father-son thing and we could always do something else as a family later on. She cried and went through the usual tempo tantrums like it's not fair. My wife yelled at me and told me to include her. She is work, so she can't come along. I think my wife is being totally unreasonable. This is just a way to bond with my son, and it's something he expressed he wants to do together without a stepsister. Now obviously my son is blood, and I will definitely prioritize him over my stepdaughter. But I don't see the big deal in doing this with my son and spending time with my stepdaughter later on. I don't think wanting to go on a trip with your son is bad, but the way you handle it is bad. Why don't you do a trip with only your stepdaughter? You can show her that you care too and that you spend time with both of them. You don't have to just spend time with your son and then 2 of them together. You know you can do both, right? One son day and one daddy-daughter day. But to just completely ignore your stepdaughter like, oh, she's only extended family, that's messed up, man. Time for our last post. Am I the asshole for trying to compromise with my newlywed wife and parents for a dinner when my wife didn't want to participate? We're living with my parents and have been there roughly 6 months while we're looking for a new place to live. I lost my job to the pandemic and we left the city, which has now become a hotspot. I'm immune compromised, among other things, so this was mostly for my safety anyways. My wife does not particularly get along with my family, who are by no means perfect people. They have struggled with unhealthy coping habits related to my dad's alcoholism, and while I've made my peace with all of this over the past 25 years, it's a new and unfortunate experience for my wife. I tried to help her navigate it the best I can. We honestly just try to limit our interactions with them as much as possible. Thankfully, it's a big house, and this can be done most of the time. Our original wedding date was to be in May, but it was rescheduled to October. We mostly just canceled the whole thing and went forward with the ceremony with just the 2 of us, legal witnesses and our priest. My family had planned to make us a surprise dinner the day of when we returned home, but this was canceled when we decided to go out with 2 of our friends after the ceremony. The following day, my parents again, without me knowing, started on the dinner they were going to make the previous day. My wife wanted the day just to be the 2 of us spending time in a room together. It was not communicated at the time that this was what she wanted. And upon hearing my parents were expecting us to participate in a dinner she did not want, she demanded that I get them to cancel it. At this point, things were well into being prepared, and I was caught between having to tell my parents to call off dinner, that they believed was a nice gesture since they could not participate in the actual wedding, and I knew they would react super negatively. My wife and I called our counselor, and we ended up having the stupid dinner after the counselor asked if it would be possible for my wife to compromise 30 minutes, have the dinner, and promptly excuse ourselves. Since then, my wife has been angry at me for losing her honeymoon and taking my parents' side instead of hers, which I totally understand where she's coming from after the fact. I just wish this expectation was communicated to me earlier. I personally didn't think our honeymoon didn't happen because we did postpone our travel plans. So, am I the asshole for trying to find a compromise, or should I have essentially been a jerk to my parents who were trying to do something nice, even though my wife doesn't like them and shouldn't feel forced to be around them? It would be a tough call. One thing I do know is your wife's definitely an asshole. First of all, no communication. A 30-minute dinner, is that bad? You didn't say anything they've done to her during dinner that could have upset her either. Did they just have a nice dinner? I can understand if she feels uncomfortable, but if you're uncomfortable, why don't you guys live at her parents' house? What's happening there? There's a bunch of info we don't know, and I feel like you might be a little misguiding the post because of some ways you word things. Cause there you go, trying to find a compromise, right? Okay, good and well. Or should I have been a jerk to my parents? So you're actively telling us that you're in the right. It's no unbiased post, which I understand, like, it's gonna be hard to write that. I don't know, man. I wish you luck. Please stay safe with COVID, especially since you're compromised. And everyone who's watching, have a great day.